Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have the Dilemmas of a Book Nerd tag. This tag was created by Lindsay's Little Library and I was tagged by Dane of Dane Reads. The last time I was tagged, I ended up going into depths about the afterlife that I never thought I would go to before. And so I'm hoping that that doesn't happen here. The first question is book storage. How do you store and organise your books? Well, there's one shelf that you can see behind me, which is full of graphic novels and the bigger fantasy novels that I can't fit on my normal shelf. And then I have 3 bookcases behind you, one of which I'm very aware of at the moment is coming away from the wall, which will be terrible because I have another bookcase balanced on top of that. And at the moment I don't really have any particular order than just being able to put the books where they fit. There is something of the colour scheme because I quite like blue books apparently, so there's a ton of blue books on a blue shelf. There is also a dressing table behind me that recently gained a drawer full of books, and there are a few piles of books around my room that I have no space for on my shelves, but may appear in a video in future when I finally decide to talk about just what books they are. 2. Tracking. How do you keep track of what you have read and what books you own? And all of the books I read go into this notebook here. My nan got gifted it as a present years ago and then ended up giving it to me when she thought she'd never use it. I couldn't see a use for it myself, but I started using it in 2016 and it looks as though it's going to keep me going for a few years. And I don't like to keep track of the books I own. Sometimes I write them down. If the amount of books goes over a certain number, I start feeling a bit overwhelmed and then I just start getting rid of books I might want to read. So we just don't do that. We do not acknowledge what books we have unread on these shelves. 3. Borrow. Do you lend books out? No. It's not happening. No. 4. Buying. How do you buy or acquire books? With money. I'm not selling my body for books. 5. Comments. How do you respond to the "how do you read so much" comment or similar comments? This is assuming that people talk to me, and I have this rather standoffish quality about me that means people don't tend to speak to me that much. And also, I'm often surrounded by other readers and writers, and I don't really get the question of how do you read so much as I get the sense that people believe I have no life outside of reading and literature, which is true. So this tends to lend itself to actually people feeling sorry for me more than feeling somewhat astounded about the amount of books I can read. And indeed, to a lot of readers, I don't read that many books. So basically, if anyone was to be astounded or shocked by how much I read, I would be grateful. 6. Next book. How do you pick your next book? I'm a mood reader. Sometimes you're feeling like reading a fantasy novel. Sometimes you're feeling like reading one of the shorter books on your shelves. And sometimes you want to get stuck into a really thick tome. Also, excitement plays a lot in that. If a book tends to sit on my shelf and I allow the excitement to dim, then there's less chance that I'm going to read it, so I really have to knuckle down and write that down and say, look, you need to read that this month. But otherwise, it's just a case of thinking, what do I really want to read now? Is there a book like that on my shelves? And if there isn't, I disappear to the library and find one that does exactly what I want it to do. 7. Travel. How do you pick what book to bring on vacation with you? Okay, firstly, vacation. Hate the word, can we say holiday? Secondly, I haven't holidayed since 2017 after an absolute fiasco in Halkidiki with my mother, and as such, I'm not sure I will be holidaying again, but basically I once took 2 books with me to Rome. The first flight I ever flew on from Gatwick to Rome, and that was a complete shit show as well. And I took the heaviest books I had because I thought the length of them would keep me going the entire time, but they were so heavy in my rucksack that now it's just whatever I have on my Kindle, and I get through the books on NetGalley I still haven't read. 8. Annotate. Do you write in, highlight or mark up your books in any way? No. 9. New or backlist? Which do you prefer? New or backlist books? I don't care. Need this again. Long question. 10. Sequels. Do you read books as they are released or wait for an entire series to be published before reading one book? Personally, I'd like to say that I'd prefer to just read one book so then you're not stuck with loads to be going on with. Oh, now I imagine I'm supposed to tag people. Okay. Not many people actually, respond to me. As I mentioned, there's something a bit standoffish about me, a bit arrogant. I'm not the nicest person in the world. So, if you fancy doing this tag, feel free to have a go. If I was going to tag anybody, I'd probably tag Mal of Mal's Bookland Adventures, Matthew of MCS Books, Katie of Books and Things. My friend Lykios reads to try and get her to come back onto YouTube, but I don't know whether she cares for this platform anymore. And 5, Emma of Emma Rosen Books. 5, there we go. I like to tag 5. So there we go. That's 5 people tagged. That's your questions answered. I hope you got something out of this video besides sheer mind-numbing boredom. And until next time, that is all.